Good morning. My name is Greg Nosan. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a worship associate here at the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Cleveland. Welcome. It's great to be with you this morning. We acknowledge that we're gathering today on land that was originally tended by the Erie, Kaskaskia, and Mississauga peoples, and later the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe peoples, also known as the Three Fires Council, which comprises the Potawatomi, the Ojibwe, and the Ottawa. We're mindful of our history and continuing connectedness, and we honor their elders, both past and present. Our community strives to celebrate the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Whether you ran in here on little feet, or ambled in, or rolled in, or tuned in virtually, we welcome you. Whatever your age, background, identity, or expression, we are honored by your presence here. Each of us comes with our own beliefs, history, and stories, and we come for multiple reasons: to explore and grow, know and be known, love and be loved, to transform the world. Whether you're here for the first time or the 100th, we hope you'll find connection, inspiration, comfort, and courage in this beloved community. If you're new and interested in learning more about who we are, simply complete a guest card, which you'll find in the pew rack in front of you. Place it in the offering plate later in the service, and we'll make sure to reach out to you. If you're watching us remotely, we invite you to visit our website at uucleveland.org or simply send us an email. As we prepare to enter into sacred time and space, connecting with our deepest selves and with one another, please take a moment to set any of your electronic devices to worship mode. We welcome Mike Miller as our Chalice lighter this morning and celebrate his work as a member of our congregation's Tending Covenant team, which supports individuals needing assistance with direct conversations, is the starting point for new formal restorative processes within the congregation, and guides updates in our covenant culture and relational skills. Thanks, Mike, for all you and your team do. And everybody else, please join me in reciting the words of our chalice lighting found on the yellow card in the pew rack in front of you. We cultivate trust with one another by celebrating differences, honoring boundaries, and offering compassion and care. We listen to each other deeply with curiosity and wonder. We speak for ourselves without need to defend ourselves or persuade each other. We create safe and brave space for healthy conflict, creativity, and fun. We reconcile through forgiving and making amends when we hurt one another.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Reverend Randy Partain. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm delighted to be with you in worship today, whether you're here in person or joining us online. I was also delighted to find scattered around our facility some thank you notes that were put here, I guess, last Sunday when we had a small group that was doing a gratitude scavenger hunt in the space. And so we have thank you, Chalice, for being there for us. We had a note on the piano that said thank you for being fun to play. I had a few notes in my office that said thank you. And I just think that's a beautiful way for us to begin worship today, just being aware that there are abundant things around us for which we can find gratitude, and that gratitude might open space for connection with one another and the world around us. So may we be in a spirit of gratitude as we begin worship this morning. We're going to sing together number 404, which I always want to call Hymn Not Found, but that's not what it is. We're going to sing What Gift Can We Bring, which is number 404. But before we do that, I invite you to take a moment to greet those around you. And if you see a face you don't recognize, please make a special effort to make those folks feel welcomed. A lovely gift. Thank you. This is the time in our service when we share our joys and concerns that we have brought into this space with us. And if you're joining us online, I invite you to put any joys or concerns that you want the congregation to know about in the comments below. If you're here in person, we often have things that folks have written in the book that they want folks to know about. And so we have a stone of gratitude for all of the good healing and prayers sent to Jay and to Peggy Lagodny's niece, Angela. Both are doing well. So we'll do 2 stones of gratitude for Jay and for Angela. What else have you brought with you today that you'd like to acknowledge? I invite you to come forward and put a stone in the water for any joys or concerns you want to note this morning. we place a stone to acknowledge those joys or concerns shared online today. And a stone for those things that we might still be carrying in the vaults of our hearts. I think of the joys and concerns that we share as opportunities for connection. We could just sit and meditate for a few moments and bow our heads and think about all the things that we brought into this space with us, but we come forward and we put stones in a bowl of water to recognize that we carry these joys and concerns with one another. We hope that by carrying one another's burdens that they become lessened, and that by carrying one another's joys they become magnified. But we have to be connected with one another in order for that to happen. So I want to invite you to give yourself a little bit of space as we do a body meditation today, and we think about connection and the way that our bodies might invite a sense of connection or a sense of openness. If you don't mind elbowing people's chins next to you, don't spread out, it's fine. But sometimes we are not aware of what our bodies are even doing. And I find that sometimes the amount of information that I'm getting and the kinds of information that I'm getting have a tendency to make me do this kind of thing, where I just kind of fold in and I want to hold everything in, maybe protect myself a bit. Maybe you find yourself in some odd contortions from time to time where you're kind of caving in on yourself, but also it's a defensive posture we get into. So I invite you to just have a little bit of a sense of connection with yourself. Maybe you want to put both hands on your heart as we take 3 breaths. We sing a song that says, when I breathe in love, and when I breathe out peace. And so let's just take 3 breaths, and we'll breathe in love and breathe out peace, and just feel our heartbeat. Breathe out peace. Breathe in love. Breathe out peace. And a third one. For some people, feeling your heartbeat, depending on health issues and all of that stuff, is not a comforting thing. And so there might be some modifications that you want to do, that you recognize your breathing or other kinds of ways that you feel grounded. But getting in touch with ourselves, feeling our own physical presence, can be a way of grounding. We do another song sometimes that says, may I be filled with loving kindness. And so maybe we can think with our hands on our hearts, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be well, whatever wellness looks like. And when we sing that song, we move on from there, and we say, may you be happy, be peaceful, be well. This comes from a loving kindness meditation. So I invite you to stretch your arms out away from you, as if you're offering something to somebody. May you be happy, may you be well, may you be at peace. Just the positioning of our bodies sometimes gives us a sense that we can offer and connect with other people around us. And then if we stretch our arms wider and let your chest expand, navigate the space with the people around you, there's something about physically stretching our arms out that makes us more open. The physical gesture gives us an emotional, psychological, spiritual change. May we be well. May we be at peace. May we be full of love. And so I invite you, in the times when you're feeling disconnected, when you're feeling closed in, there's some simple things that we can do with our bodies that can give us a sense of expansiveness and openness and recognize our connection with one another. little body meditation that you can take with you back into your lives.
Today's offering recipient is thirsty for knowledge, thirsty for water, a campaign to help the Annie Margaret Barr School, a Unitarian K through 12 school located in the remote Khasi Hills area of Northeast India. Most of us take for granted having a glass of water with every meal. The students at this school don't, because there's no reliable source of water for drinking or plumbing in their poor, remote region. There's a monsoon season, but climate change has meant that the rains now start a month later than usual, by which point the water that was harvested the previous year has run out. Your gift will help the school not only to create a new underground rainwater harvesting facility for itself, but also to demonstrate to nearby villagers that they can do the same in their own homes, much like the rain barrel practice common here in the United States. Please support this effort now by giving as you're able, either by placing your offering in the plate or by using Cash App. Our handle is $ all caps UUCC 44122. Be sure to include the words 11/26 plate in the for line of the app. Thanks very much. Spirit of life, eternal, beloved of mystery and grace, receive our prayer. We come before that which is greater than ourselves in gratitude for the fullness of our lives, for the anguish and grief that informs our mission to side with love again and again, for the suffering and disenfranchisement of our people that foments our passion for justice and wholeness, for complex lives, for hard lives, for real, full, and overwhelmed lives. We give thanks for the blessings that we have been given, the reassurance of community, the steady warmth of hope, and the unwavering faith that there will be better days. We give thanks and seek your grace. Spirit of love, come alongside with all the holy nudges that we need, so we may live in such a way that we celebrate all the blessings that we have been given, so we may be the blessings in the world.
One of the things that I want to highlight about our offering partner, this Unitarian school on the other side of the world, is that we're in partnership with other Unitarian Universalist churches that are contributing to the same thing. It's not all up to us to do this work, but what we do matters when we put it in collaboration with others who care about the same things. It's one of the amazing things about our justice work. We don't have a lot budgeted for the justice work that we do in the community because it happens Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. We pool our resources with other resources out in the community to create greater wholeness and well-being. It can be difficult to forget that we are doing that sometimes because we walk out of here on Sundays and go back into the turmoil and chaos of the world around us, and we might not realize that we just did something amazing by coming together on Sunday morning and putting our resources toward our values out in the world. It's something that some of us have to practice, that sense of awareness that we've done something, to remind ourselves, oh yeah, we did a good thing. That's something worthy of recognizing and being grateful for. I'm wondering what else you are good at now that you had to practice, that you did not start off being good at, but now you're pretty good because you had a bit of practice. Is there something in your life that you can think of? Yes, Lloyd? The New York Times Spelling Bee. You've had practice, and now you're pretty good at it. Yeah. What else? I tell you what, when I started playing piano, I was not ready for any kind of public performance. It took a lot of practice. Yes?
I have a lot of practice
Warming food. And now you're really great at it. Okay, very good. Yeah. Speaking Spanish. Yeah. And you didn't grow up learning Spanish. But it wasn't spoken in your home. So it's something that you had to work at. You had to practice it. And now you can carry on a conversation in Spanish, depending on who you're talking to. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Welding. Man, I bet that takes a lot of practice. Is that something that you have to injure yourself before you know you're really good at it? Or you burn your clothes. Okay. I've heard that to be a good chef, you have to cut yourself 100 times, that's that kind of thing. I am not a good chef, apparently. Some things take a lot of practice. Some things we wouldn't think take a lot of practice sometimes. Gratitude might be one of those things. We've been talking about generosity this month as one of our values, and we talk about cultivating a spirit of gratitude and hope. And it seems like that's just something we ought to be able to do. And maybe it takes more practice than we wish it did. There's a story that was told back in the 90s by one of our Unitarian Universalist ministers, Phyllis O'Connell. And she told this story about a woman who was on the New York subway. The station was very busy, and as she leaves the train, she realizes she's only holding one of her gloves. And she looks back, and there's the partner glove sitting on the seat. She does not have time before the doors are going to close to run back into the subway car and get the other glove. And so she throws out her arm and tosses the glove that she's holding into the car to be with its partner, so that whoever finds that glove will find the pair. Another colleague, Reverend Victoria Safford, observes about this story that looks like a frivolous gesture, gratuitous, spontaneous, spur of the moment. But you know, she must have lived a long life of generosity, a life of wild and creative generosity of spirit, to be able to think so quickly, to act so urgently and healthily, to know precisely in that moment what would bless the world right then and there. It happened in an instant, but that was planned giving through and through. Something in her past, or everything in her past, prepared that woman for her gesture. Habits of living and giving practiced and refined her whole life long. Now, I think it would be tempting to hang on to that one glove and to mourn the loss of its partner and to talk about how much I used to love that pair of gloves, and now I just have this one, and so it doesn't do me any good, and I would tell people how I lost the other glove on the subway, and I would lament. And that's not what this woman did. She didn't worry about the lamenting and the grief that she would feel about losing this pair of gloves. She did something very different. And I think sometimes we might look at our lives and say, well, I am not that person. I am not the kind of person that would spontaneously throw a left glove into the car because I saw that the right glove was sitting there on the seat. But I want to suggest that it isn't really about what kind of gratitude and hope we feel right now. This value is not about where we are in this very moment. It's about cultivating a spirit of gratitude and hope. So rather than asking, who am I right now, the question is, who do you want to be in 10 years? Who do you want to be in 10 years in terms of being a generous person, cultivating a spirit of gratitude and hope? Because if I can see your habits today, I can probably predict what kind of a person you're going to be in 10 years. You can too. It's not a magic trick. When we look at people's lives and we see what they're doing moment by moment, day by day, right now, we can make some predictions about what they are cultivating and who they are becoming in their lives. So if we want to be people of gratitude, if we want to be people of generosity, if we want to be people of hope, then we can start practicing now, and whatever level we might be experiencing those things today, we can experience them more abundantly as we practice and cultivate that in our lives. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, our presence, and our resources. That's a big ask. That's a big promise. Maybe it takes small habits over time to cultivate that kind of generosity where we are freely and compassionately sharing our presence and our faith and our resources. Now, I will say there's a bit of me that thinks that feeling a sense of gratitude when I know that there is suffering going on in the world feels a little bit self-indulgent. It feels a little selfish for me to say, oh, well, I've got all of these things to be grateful for, and the rest of the world is suffering. And then I remember something that I read about Abraham Maslow's students I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but you know, he's the person that came up with the hierarchy of needs, and we need to have our basic needs met, food and water and all of that, before we can worry about self-actualization, where we can have these things that he called peak experiences, where we are really in the flow of life and feeling like we are at the pinnacle of our experience of life. But what he found out is that when his students were talking with one another about peak experiences, they started having more peak experiences. So when we talk about gratitude and hope, and when we share our gratitude and hope with one another, we might be setting ourselves up to experience more gratitude and hope in the world. And however we respond to the suffering that we see in the world around us, I imagine that if we respond to it out of a sense of hopelessness and despair and anxiety, we are not going to create the same sense of wholeness and well-being as we could if we respond to the suffering that we see in the world from a spirit of gratitude and hope. My sense is that if we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope, then our response to the world around us will create greater well-being and wholeness than if we are caved in and trying to just protect what we've got because we are so scared of the world that we see around us. If we want to be generous people, we can practice that in small ways, just like learning Spanish or learning how to play the piano or learning welding. We practice. We might burn our clothes from time to time. We might get a word wrong here and there. And it's okay because we are cultivating something. We're building something. We're growing. It's all right if we make some mistakes along the way and if we don't get it perfect. But contemplating all of the things that we have to be grateful for, I mean, just imagine the number of things that had to conspire and align and take shape in order for you to be here right now taking the next breath. There are so many things that had to happen that you didn't control in order for you to be here in this moment. We are not wanting for things to be grateful for. We have an abundance of things to be grateful for. So when we are overwhelmed by the news, when we see that there's violence happening in other parts of the world, when we are traumatized even by things happening in our own families, we can, I guess, take some comfort in knowing that we cannot escape being traumatized. At this point in our world, we are going to be traumatized, us and everybody else. But we can learn to be generous in how we care for one another, recognizing that we are not the only ones being traumatized by the world around us. We can do our part to build little habits of generosity as a response, not a denial of the things happening in the world around us, but build habits of generosity as a response to the things that we see in the world around us. Witnessing a wounded world and responding with generosity and compassion. We cannot heal everything or everyone. It is unreasonable for us to try, even though we sometimes expect it of ourselves. But whoever you want to be, whatever values you want to embody, we can start small and be consistent. And there's no time like the present to begin cultivating a spirit of gratitude and hope so that we might be a people who show to the world what compassionate generosity looks like. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be. And if you hadn't noticed, we have been doing little things today that might reflect some habits of cultivating generosity, like leaving little post-it notes that say, "Thank you, Chalice, for being there for us." Or just having a body meditation that helps us center with ourselves and open to the world around us. Or singing a song about giving thanks, which I invite you to do now as we rise in body or spirit and sing together hymn 1010 in the Teal hymnal, "We Give Thanks." We do have a lot of things going on, and I don't know if you feel grateful for all of the things that we have going on this month or not, but we've got a craft fair downstairs today. There's lots of things set up for you to, maybe if you're doing some Christmas shopping and you think of people that might enjoy those things, you can get it all done today. I don't know. But craft fair downstairs. Also, we have a special craft activity with Amy Schwabauer and some other folks. Is somebody in here helping with that? Do you know where you all are meeting? You don't. I'm imagining that you might gather in the fellowship hall, and if there's someplace else to go, then people will be able to figure it out from there. But we have a multi-gen crafting opportunity today that Amy is leading, and we're really grateful for that. On December 10th, 2 weeks from now, we have another potluck because you all did so well a few weeks ago with a potluck. You can prepare the same things if that went over really well. If you went home with a lot of whatever you made, then maybe make something else. But my impression is that people were well-fed and very grateful for the gifts that everyone brought. If you want to be one of the folks that helps in making that run smoothly on December 10th, please let me know. We did have some people step up, but it doesn't have to be the same people all the time. And so if that's something that you would like to do, the room setup is going to be taken care of, but there are some things that it's helpful to have a couple of folks to just manage the flow of things that day. So please let me know if you want to help with that on December 10th. Harry's Kitchen Crew will be back in January. And I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up about Christmas Eve, because that's coming up. I know you all are making plans and things. Christmas Eve is on a Sunday this year. We are not going to have our normal Sunday morning worship on Christmas Eve. We're going to gather, I'm imagining that it's going to be a smaller group than this, but we're going to gather on Christmas Eve morning in the fellowship hall, and we'll have a time of sharing winter, poetry, and prose, and a few songs together that will not be as Christmas-themed as the evening. But on the evening of Christmas Eve, December 24th, for those of you that aren't quite sure where that falls, we're going to have our worship service in the evening here beginning at 6, and actually at 5:30, our talented young people are going to begin providing music, so you probably want to think of being here at 5:30 to hear the pre-service music. The service officially begins at 6, and then we'll have some time afterwards for refreshment and connection, thanks to Cliff Wire. Thank you, Cliff, for being willing to oversee our time together after the service on Christmas Eve. So that's our Christmas Eve plan, so you can plan ahead for that. Other things are happening. Check your newsletters. It's all there. Reverend Edward Everett Hale wrote, "I am only one, but still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. So with a spirit of gratitude and hope, may we embrace those things that are ours to do with full generosity and joy and celebration. Go with peace and courage.
Can you hear me okay? This is better. I just wasn't doing something right. Please join me in extinguishing the chalice with the words found on the back of the yellow card in the pew rack in front of you. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.